So scared. Bye-bye.
This lady wanted someone dead, but one slip-up would turn the entire case against her.
Well, obviously, the least message better
Okay.
for both of us.
Okay. Option one.
Snap it back.
And then two is what?
Shoot.
In January 2013, Northland police were stunned by a man who had arrived at the station with some shocking claims.
I said, Jan, I said, you're going to go to jail for that. You know, I said, that's illegal. I said, that house does not belong to you.
But this was the beginning of a sinister plot they were about to unravel.
He has too much knowledge of my life that can come back and bite me in the ass.
It all began with an unexpected tip-off to Northport Police Department in January 2013.
You're here today to give us information regarding some kind of real estate scheme to defraud that was brought to your attention.
That's correct.
This is John Chamberlain, who's here to report her longtime friend and current employer, 49-year-old Janeene Jones. But little did John know, he was about to throw open the doors to a case full of shocking turns.
She was buying up foreclosures and wanting me to do the plumbing renovations to them. And that's when it really started taking off.
This started off as good business. John thought he had struck a great deal. Janeene, a Northport, Florida landlord, owned 13 vacant houses, fixing them up and renting them out for a steady income. As a plumber, it was a win-win for John, with extra cash and a stable place to live that Janeene gave him.
And how long have you been in there?
I've been in there since June.
So, for my understanding...
Last year.
Oh, June of last year.
Yes. Things started good, and then recently she told me she didn't need my help and she needed me to get out.
But John couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. And once his suspicion radar went off, there was no turning back.
I've seen them just hop through the window, drill the lock, change the locks out. They've keyed all these properties to the same lock.
Right.
I don't go in there anymore, but this is the key for it.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can have it if you want. I don't want anything to do with it.
Janeene didn't actually own any of the houses. Instead, she was running a carefully crafted scam, renting out properties she didn't own, tricking unsuspecting tenants, and pocketing the profits. To make it all seem legitimate, she showed fake property documents, claiming the actual owners had handed over the homes in exchange for her covering their taxes. To execute this fraud, she even had a perfect scheme that she used.
She was mad because she didn't want anybody to be able to trace anything back to her. That's what it was. So she had a little burner phone that she would give the number to her rental people.
John had also become a part of this scheme unknowingly while working for her as a plumber, until he got to know the truth.
There was a tenant in one of these homes that Janeene was renting out. That tenant was at her home that she believed she was lawfully renting, and somebody showed up at her door claiming to own the house.
She said, I rent this house from Janeene Jones. And they said, we don't even know who that person is.
However, he believed that Janeene was incapable of harming those who rented or owned the houses. That's why he decided to confront and warn her.
I said, Jan, I said, you're going to go to jail for that.
But how did it all begin? To truly understand John's claims, the officers needed to go back to the very start.
Why don't you take me back to, how you came to know Janeene?
I met Jan approximately 9 years ago through church, and I became friends with her husband, Max.
Janeene Jones was born in Tawas City, Michigan, and later pursued her career as a correction officer at Charlotte County Jail in Florida. She was already a two-time divorcee raising a young son when she met Max Jones, a carpenter, in 1991. She married him the same year on October 12th, and it wasn't long after she became pregnant with their first son, Zachary Jones, better known as Zach, in 1992. Max tried his best to be a responsible father.
My happiest memories is with my father is every time he'd have a side job, I was able to go with him, and it was always pretty cool to see my dad in action.
2 years later, in 1994, they welcomed their daughter, Alexandria. Now their family looked complete, and everything seemed perfect until Janeene lost her job a few years later. But the reason behind this was enough to raise red flags.
She told me she used to be a guard at the prison a long time ago, and I guess she was fired because she had some affair going with an inmate.
But this was just the beginning. Things were about to get darker. With no income, Max became the sole breadwinner, leading to stress and fights between the couple. But what they didn't know was that their lives were about to take a devastating turn. On November 27, 2011, Max suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 51 years, which resulted in his sudden death.
I'd come home and found that there was 2 police officers sitting in the road, and they walked up to me and said that my dad had passed. And I asked my mom what happened, and all she told me was he had a heart attack.
Janeene appeared to be a distraught wife who now had sole responsibility for her kids. Fortunately, she received a $1 million insurance payout from Max's death, which she invested in a real estate business that ultimately turned into a whole scam. This marked a turning point, as Janeene appeared to move on with her life quickly. She decided to make significant changes to her appearance.
The first thing I noticed was Jan decided that she needed to get boob surgery, which I thought the timing was kind of different, but I said, oh, whatever. I said, everybody grieves differently. What do I know?
After Max's death, Janeene moved to a new house with her children for a fresh start. But just 6 months after her husband's passing, she began dating several men, while also consuming drugs and alcohol. It was then that she met 26-year-old Matthew Smith, who was half her age and just 2 years older than her son, Zach.
Right away after her husband died, I can't judge, but she was like out there immediately with a new boyfriend. This Matthew Smith, he actually came about, he was her cable guy.
Shortly after Max died, her response upon seeing him was, "How would you like to be my boy toy?" And his response was, "I'd love to." He was very much her boy toy, and he liked having a sugar mama.
She pranced him around like it was a new pony is what she would do. She spoiled him. I've never seen nobody be spoiled like that before.
And yet that wasn't even the strangest part. Amy Wright, Janene's friend, had a front row seat to the bizarre dynamics between them.
Jan called me out of the blue, like it was the late hours of the night, and asked me if I would be interested in a threesome with her and her new boyfriend. And I was like, no, that is not up my alley. And then she proceeded to ask me if me and her could have a sexual relationship and Matt watch. And I was like, yeah, that's not something I'm into either.
Janene's whirlwind romance with Matt took a dark turn, leaving her family in shock when they discovered she had married him. Just 6 months after Max's death, in July 2012, she stunned everyone by announcing at a gathering that she and Matthew had tied the knot during a trip in Las Vegas. Her children were particularly taken aback by the news. In the following months, Janeene and Matthew embraced an extravagant lifestyle, bolstered by the profits from their new real estate venture. Matthew wasn't just her husband, he quickly became her business partner as well.
Just all happened really quick, and boom, before I know it, they owned 4 or 5 houses. I was thinking, wow, this lady, she's got a good business going for herself.
But her haunting past was quickly catching up.
Yeah, she knew him for a few months before they went to Vegas and got married. Right when her and Matt first got together, it was brought to my attention that she was being investigated for allegedly killing her ex-husband, Max. And she said that it was, that it was being dismissed for inconclusive evidence.
Coming back to the scene in the story where John was here to report her now, this wasn't the first time he had sensed something was wrong. He recalled incidents where Janene's requests raised red flags, making him suspect she was hiding something.
There would be a lockbox on the door, and she said these houses have sat so long, they can't contact anybody that has the key for them, and so we got to go in there and drill the locks off. I did like 1 or 2 for her, and then I told her, I said, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't do illegal stuff like this, and I knew at this time now that she was involved in illegal stuff. If someone's defrauding people, I wanted to tell them everything I knew, so that they would know I had nothing to do with this little scheme that she was doing.
With her unusual behavior, the police suspected something fishy, and they had already begun looking into her possible involvement in her first husband's death. Now, with a possible murder investigation of her husband on one side and fraud allegations on the other, Janeene was running out of places to hide. But that left one central question unanswered. Was Matt entirely in the dark, or was he the second mastermind in this case?
Was that Janeene and Matt both, or just Janeene, or just Matt, or?
No, that was both of them.
Both of them.
And I've heard it out of Matt's mouth that none of these houses are legal, and that he was trying to get Jan set up where she'd be like making $10,000 to $15,000 a month.
Yeah. So who's the brainchild of this? Is
Jan.
Is it Jan?
Absolutely. I just can't believe what she has turned into.
John was the only one who knew the full extent of her fraud. Therefore, Janeene considered him a threat and wanted him out.
I knew that there was something wrong, and she knew that I knew that there was something wrong. But at the same time, she's just kept smiling at me, and I kept smiling at her. And it was like, we know each other much better than this. Like I said, she was not real happy with me. It actually escalated to the point where she had Matt come over and serve me with a summons. I pushed him, and he went on his ass and rolled down the driveway. He came up there screaming and hollering at me that he was going to kick my rear end and throw me out of here and all this other stuff. That said that I had 3 days to get out of the property, that they were evicting me. Not only did she file legal paperwork to have me evicted, but she actually retained an attorney to represent her on this matter.
Realizing he was in danger, John wasted no time reporting Janeene's fraudulent activities to the authorities.
Once I became aware of what she was actually doing with this rental scheme, I came down here and spoke with Detective Stewartson and told him everything that I knew.
The detectives had enough to push forward with the investigation. They were certain Janeene was keeping more secrets. Now it was only a matter of time before they brought everything to light. The officers geared up for a daunting investigation against her for fraud, but nothing could have prepared them for what was coming next. Janeene's friend Becky made a call to the police station to report something that would horrify even the officers.
I received a phone call from a confidential informant. They said somebody wants to have somebody murdered. The case witness said that she is friends with a lady named Jan. Jan had said that she wanted to have somebody murdered that knew a lot about her, knew too much about her life.
The target on Janeene's hit list was none other than John Chamberlain, the man who had reported her real estate fraud earlier. John had reported her alleged fraudulent activities with integrity, but that act made him the target of her dangerous scheme. Now his life was in grave danger, but even more alarming was her plot to kill him, a scheme that would haunt everyone involved.
She says, I wish I could get rid of him for good. Well, I turned to her, I was like, what do you mean? She's like, for good. Then she called me the next day on the phone. She's like, hey, do you think you could find somebody that could help me with the John issue? Like, I didn't really know how to express mine to him. She was a little bit more pushy with the second phone call. Hey, did you check on that favor for me? And I was like, yeah, I spoke to a guy. I was like, I will get back to you on that.
Both Becky and Janeene met at a restaurant called Sweet Tomatoes for lunch to discuss their plan.
John Chamberlain? Did you tell anybody coming up there to meet you? It would have been what are you doing that for? Oh. Matt. Oh. He moved in our house today, so. He's like, hey, bars are fishing.
Janeene knew the walls were closing in, but she wasn't going down without a fight and came prepared. She doubled down, plotting a plan so solid it could outsmart even the sharpest detectives.
Is it just him now? Him and his daughter. Him and his daughter alone all the time. How old is he? 11? Something like that. His daughter alone at night. The house got up to an empty house. So he's coming home. He's coming home at night then?
Still in shock, Becky asked Janeene again if she was sure about wanting John dead, or if she had considered just scaring him instead.
I talked to my dude. He had a shitload of questions. That's fine. That's why I asked you who was in the house. Mm-hmm. Does he have any dogs? 2 cats. He wanted to know, like, what do you want? So scared. Bye-bye. That's what I'm sure you wanted to do.
With Janine's unwavering determination now confirmed, Becky asked her how she wanted John to be killed.
So we're gone. Yep. You wanted to leave any body? You want to take the body? Do you want to leave the body? Take the body? They want to dispose the body. How soon do you want him done? And you want him to take the body? Huh? And you want him to take the body? And you're sure? Like this is something straight on you?
I'm leaving next Wednesday to go on cruise. And I'll be going until Sunday. So, can we do it before that or after?
You want him to suffer?
Janine had planned it all. She was already beginning to create an alibi for her by selecting a moment that would be most convenient and would be least likely to draw attention from investigators. After hearing Janine's entire plan laid out so confidently, Becky warned her about the risks involved and the price that came with taking someone's life.
You said 25, but you said you wanted more. So,
we should depend on the risk.
Becky made it clear that she had no interest in getting into trouble, but she knew someone who could carry out her plan perfectly.
He's from the streets, but he's smart, right? Because if it goes on you, it's going to come back on me. Oh, I know. So what he was asking me is, how do you want it? He sleeps in the back bedroom. Yeah. He wanted to meet you. And I said, I don't know how she's going to feel about that. He's in line. He'll do it. He wants, you're willing to pay him, and I'm going to make shit out.
A few days later, Becky reached out to Janine, instructing her on something she would need to set the plan in motion.
I'm going to be honest with you. Go get you a little track phone with $10 on it, because we're not doing a whole bunch of cars a day. Right. If you go to dollar store, they're $8.
I don't want to put my credit card on there, because then it's attached to me.
That's right.
Yeah. I only want cash.
Did you get that worked out?
Oh, yeah. They won't waste too much information online, so I'm going to try and take the phone back and go to Metro.
Metro, they're going to have you on camera, babe.
What the hell am I going to do?
Janine then finally received the call she had been waiting for, the call from the person who would help her carry out her plan.
Morning.
Hey, what's up? Homegirl said you're looking to get some work done.
Mm-hmm.
How soon are you trying to have that done?
I'm leaving next Wednesday to go on a cruise, and I'll be gone until Sunday. So, either do it before that or after.
Why don't you have it done while you're doing it? That make more sense, right?
Yeah.
I want it all written down. I mean, if you want it, I need to know where he lives. I need to know his friends. I need to know what he drives. And I need a photo.
Okay.
Can you get all that?
Yeah. It might be fun.
Now the time had come that Janine was eagerly waiting for, and she, along with Becky, then decided to meet the hitman to discuss the execution of their plan. However, just as Janine sat in the car, she exhibited some strange, almost absurd behavior.
Hello.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing
Good. Yeah.
I don't shake hands. Yeah. But nice to meet you.
Okay.
Yep.
How's that?
All right, you got to tell me where to go to. Yep. You're going to go back out on Price? He doesn't know about Norfolk.
If you just eat good on, I don't eat them white boys. I don't know how y'all work out here, but
They will pull your ass over.
they'll get you for anything.
The hitman, however, had come prepared, wasted no time getting straight to the point, but what he was going to hear from Janine would shock him to the core.
You talk to my baby girl, she'll tell you, I'm serious about my shit. I think come down here to play around. What are you thinking? You know what I mean? Because once you give me the money, that's it.
After brief pleasantries, Janine wasted no time and got straight to business. But as the hitman began asking her for information about the plot, it revealed a cold, sinister side of her that no one had ever seen before.
But I mean, there's no mistaking he's bald and...
No twin brother, no, none of that.
Most of his family's up in New York.
Okay.
He's got a daughter, which I don't care about.
As if plotting John's death wasn't enough, Janeene also didn't want his daughter interfering with her plan. Her calm and emotionless demeanor depicted a far sinister picture of her, casting doubt that it wasn't her first time orchestrating such a crime. Determined, she took the hitman to John's house, pointing out exactly where he needed to strike. When he asked her how she wanted it done, she replied in a calm and stoic tone, detailing every step with chilling precision.
This house, that fence butts up to the back left property.
Oh, that's vacant. Huh?
That's a possibility. The neighbors aren't really out when it's dark.
No nosy look around, nothing like that. All right, so exactly how do you want it done?
Easiest. I mean, if you think just snapping his neck and putting him to sleep that way.
I'm by my. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm gonna do it how you want me to do it. You know what I mean? So you can be satisfied. I can do him any kind of. You know what I mean? I'll burn his ass out, snap his neck. How you want me to do it, I can do it. I'm asking you, how do you want me to do it?
Well, obviously, the least message better
Okay.
for both of us.
Okay. Option 1.
Snap his neck.
And then 2 is what?
Shoot.
He has too much knowledge of my life that can come back and bite me in the ass.
Oh, okay.
She even handed the hitman a blueprint of John's house, making sure he could navigate without any trouble. Just when it seemed like this was the final step in her twisted plan, Janeene took it even further as she revealed yet another target she wanted gone.
That don't work. Only thing he does is the houses for me. He's the next one on my list.
Yeah. How would you want that one done?
Something along the lines of carjacking.
It seemed like her hunger for money was far from satisfied, and now she wanted her current husband, Matt, gone too. After all, he was more valuable to her dead than alive, as she planned to collect his hefty insurance payout. With her previous husband gone under suspicious circumstances, she now plotted his removal, showing no sign of remorse. The hitman and Janeene both agreed to a standard amount of money for both murders, and Janeene handed the hitman the money without hesitation. Janeene's act of plotting the murder of her current husband casts a dark shadow over her character, cementing her reputation as a rising black widow.
I have one here. I have one at home. I have 2 in my bank account.
Once you give me the money, that's it. It's a done deal. It's to be done. Deal.
She stepped out of the car to encash the rest of the amount, but there a bombshell dropped on her. Janeene had unknowingly walked right into a meticulously planned trap, one that would soon unravel everything she thought was under her control. This was just the beginning of a series of bombshell revelations that would shatter her world. First, the friend she trusted, Becky, was actually Amy Wright, the confidant who knew nearly every secret about her life. Then she was confronted with the most staggering shocker for her. The hitman she had arranged to kill John wasn't a criminal at all, but an undercover officer, Dominic Harris. Her own friend Amy had been working with the police from the moment Janeene expressed her desire to have John killed. Every moment of the setup to get the truth, from the staged meeting to the conversation with Janeene, was recorded on camera, leaving her with no escape from the overwhelming evidence against her.
The hitman was not actually a hitman. The hitman was an undercover detective with the Sarasota Police Department. Dominic Harris ended up being a phenomenal undercover agent. He played the role of hitman just beautifully.
With undeniable evidence against her, there was no way out.
Janeene had a shocked look on her face. She was definitely surprised that, oh my gosh, now there's the police here. And that shock turned to anger. And she had a very angry face. She was not happy that she was getting arrested. She scuffed her knee when she was taken to the ground. She urinated in her shorts.
On February 25, 2013, Janeene was arrested and taken into custody.
A Northport woman is behind bars tonight accused of plotting a murder for hire. Police say she tried to get 2 people killed. One was her husband. Our James Jackson tells us how she was caught through Operation Black Widow.
The investigators believed she supposedly targeted Matt because of the payout she was supposed to receive from his insurance policy. They then turned to her supposed target, Matt, her husband, and informed him about her plot. He was shocked upon learning the truth, but investigators had reasons to believe he was an ally to her for her real estate fraud.
Matt's reaction was to clam up. He told law enforcement he did not want to speak with them, and he just shut down. So that made me suspicious about his involvement.
However, after a few weeks of investigation, the police gathered enough evidence to arrest him for real estate fraud. On March 15, 2013, Matt was taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of burglary and real estate fraud. Returning to Janeene's sinister plots, they had already arrested her for plotting to murder not 1, but 2 people. But what was to come was even more terrifying. After realizing her evil actions, the people became suspicious of her actions involving someone else's life.
In the community, people were suspicious. They were surprised at Janeene's behavior, but nobody was ready to convict her in their minds. It was just enough to be suspicious.
All she told me was that he had a heart attack, but never really told me any details. And I knew my dad didn't have any heart issues. I knew he had stomach issues, but the heart attack kind of threw me off guard. And I kept asking her why this happened, and she couldn't give me any answers.
Max's family was really concerned about having an autopsy done. They wanted to know what happened to him. Once she said no, she's going to get a cremation, she cut off all ties with Max's family. So that put in some leery vibes in the air, and rumors started to spread quickly. There was even people posting on her social media about her killing her husband. She would then quick delete it.
Although they had never thought Janeene to be this evil, but with her sadistic plot unraveling now, it was becoming more evident to everyone about what she was capable of doing.
Janeene Jones has potentially been involved in the murder of her previous husband, Max. Now she wants to have other people killed for money.
It wasn't totally a shock because we knew that she had likely killed her former husband, Max Jones.
These suspicions were further corroborated by the doubts her own family had against her after Max's death. It was revealed that Max died suddenly, but what led to his death was severe stomach problems, resulting in substantial weight loss and multiple hospitalizations. Even the doctors were unable to diagnose what was wrong with him. But it wasn't always this way. In the days shortly after Max's death, the Northport police did try to investigate his cremated remains, hoping for answers. But they hit a dead end, as no test could prove that his death was anything other than natural.
So there was no indication that his death was a result of homicide. You can't determine homicide based on cremains.
Finally, Janeene Jones was accused of serious criminal charges, including a murder plot and occupational license fraud for a real estate scheme, after being arrested in February 2013. In January 2014, Matt Smith was sentenced to 6 months in county jail with evidence linking him to forgery, and he was also given 4 years of probation and ordered to pay $17,500 in restitution. He has now completed his probation.
Eventually, Matt Smith communicated through his attorney that he would be willing to engage in a plea deal in which he would testify against Janeene in the solicitation to commit murder trial in exchange for a more lenient sentence for him. That offer was immediately rejected. Furthermore, I did not feel it was appropriate to call him as a witness.
The sting operation was proven to be significant evidence against Janeene in court. In 2014, she pleaded no contest to the solicitation charges, meaning she accepted the punishment but did not plead guilty. As a result, Janeene was sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison without the possibility of probation. This was a significant growth from her previous scams that included murder attempts. Officials also investigated the suspected death of her ex-husband. Before his death, Janeene assured him for $1 million. Although there was no direct evidence to connect her to his death, the circumstances raised serious questions. but due to no evidence, no charges had ever been made. Janeene's judgment emphasizes the serious legal consequences of solidarity crimes. She is currently serving 2 life sentences in prison with the possibility of probation. A simple report of fraud led the cops down a twisted path and fortunately resulted in Janeene's arrest before she could claim any more lives. The detectives successfully solved the case and brought justice to the homeowners and the victims, including John Chamberlain, who was betrayed by his longtime friend.
Why they were reading the sentencing off to Jan, and when they were reading the sentencing, his father turned to my side and grabbed my arm and said, "Thank you for getting justice for my boy."
She deserves what she got. We all said, well, somehow that's got justice.
This case became notorious, dubbed as Black Widow Scam. However, the tragedy also left a long-lasting impact on Alexandria and Zach, who not only lost their father under suspicious circumstances, but also Janeene's action had already destroyed the trust of those around her.
Every feeling I had to talk to my mom was kind of gone. When I found out all the evidence, I had no respect left for her, and it just kind of went away. I think the most thing I miss about my dad being around is for him to tell me he's proud of me.
This closure brought some relief, but the scars of deception and betrayal will take time to heal. Although the detectives were unable to determine the real cause of Max's death, what do you think? Was Janeene actually responsible, or it was just natural? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel as we bring you more interesting true crime cases. If there is any particular case that you would like us to cover, please leave your suggestions in the comment section. Your suggestions are important to us. Till then, stay safe and keep watching M7 Crime Story.